Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Pat's Travel Pass. Today, we're going to look at Chase transfer partners, and we're going to put them in a tier list and see who comes out on top. We have United, British, Aer Lingus, Emirates, Virgin Atlantic, Air Canada, Hyatt, IHG, KLM, Flying Blue, Iberia, JetBlue, Marriott, Singapore, and Southwest. And here's our tier list right here. We're going to be ranking them from S to D, just like you see elsewhere on YouTube. And we're going to see if there's anyone that's overrated or underrated. Come join us. All right, first up we have Aer Lingus. So a part of the Avios collection, which includes British Airways, Qatar, Iberia, and other One World partners, mainly in Europe. They do have some sweet spots in the business class redemption area, as Avios typically do. Let's look at the East Coast to Europe. Right now, you could get there for 50,000 Avios, which is a really good price point. If you're coming from the West US, like Los Angeles, that would be about 62,500 points. That being said, there are Chase Ink cards that yield 100,000 Chase points for a sign-up bonus, which could fund two people one way in business class from the East Coast. If you each got the card, that would provide a business class round trip. You'd also get a referral bonus for referring your P2, so you would have a little bit extra. So Avios can also be used to book some sweet spots like Japan Airlines first class, the lowest being about 125,000 Avios through Finnair. When you're in the Avios program, you can transfer among other Avios programs, so the currency can be very versatile. They do pass on fuel surcharges, though, which could really increase your cash out of pocket, along with a decent bit of points. They're not the cheapest. To book a reward flight, you do have to also go to rewards.aerlingus.com. That took me a couple minutes to figure out. That being said, Aer Lingus, first one in, deserves a B tier. Next one. Next up is Aeroplan for Air Canada. A part of the Star Alliance, they have great sweet spots with United, Lufthansa, and ANA premium cabins. They also have a decent bit of additional credit cards to help supplement your points beyond Chase. Aeroplan can be used to book United domestic routes for way cheaper than what United is offering. However, recently, United has made it extremely difficult to book their domestic routes, so this does detract from Aeroplan here. Additionally, cancellation and change fees are about $100 to $200, which have really made Aeroplan tough unless you're locked in on your plans. That being said, some of the sweet spots would be booking Lufthansa first class for only 100,000 Aeroplan miles from the East Coast to Germany. And Aeroplan does not pass on fuel surcharges, so that is a really huge plus. You really get to use your miles to pay for your flight and not a bunch of miles and dollars. So for that, Aeroplan deserves a solid A tier. Next up is British Airways, with many of the statements from Aer Lingus applying here, since British Airways also uses Avios, but has a few more sweet spots. British Airways' interface is also a little bit easier to use, I find, considering all the things from the Aer Lingus program. We're going to give British Airways a solid B tier. Next up is Emirates. Emirates is the first airline that comes to mind for most when they think of first class, with all the social media coverage on their blingy business and first class cabins. Fancy champagne and showers at 40,000 feet is quite the experience on most aviators' bucket list, including mine still. But unfortunately, Emirates did devalue quite aggressively, raising point costs and surcharges. Looking at Dallas to Dubai, the first class is for 186,000 points, which already requires more than one sign-up bonus, plus $839 US. That is a ton of cash and a ton of points. It makes it really difficult to pencil this kind of trip, just for one way, too. So some sweet spots do include Emirates' fifth Freedom flights, which limit the out-of-pocket cost, like New York to Athens. We're in for 102,000 points plus $130, which is way more palatable. This is a much shorter flight, though, but at least on a cash for taxes and fees, we're in a more reasonable area. If the cash out of pocket doesn't bother you and you're looking for cheaper ways to travel in luxury, this could work out really well for you. But for most, it's not. D tier. Next up, we have Flying Blue, a combo program between Air France and KLM, since both are a part of SkyTeam, the first of our Chase transfer partners on SkyTeam. Now let's get right to it. You can book flights through Air France or KLM's website. They're similar. Economy redemptions from the East Coast to Europe are 15,000 points, very low, 35,000 for premium economy, and 50,000 for business, so on par with the Avios program. This is in the same program as Aer Lingus and British, like I mentioned. However, the taxes and fees are a tad lower since we're not going through London Heathrow, which is a plus. I think the hard product is also much better than those you'd experience on the Avios carriers, and Chase will have transfer bonuses as well. So for example, if there's a 25% transfer bonus, then we would only need 40,000 points to yield 50,000 for our redemption. This is definitely an A tier. Next up is Iberia. Similar statements to Aer Lingus and British Airways, however, they do have the ultimate business sweet spot for 34,000 points from East Coast to Madrid one way, which was a red hot deal. One big item to note is booking partner airlines through Iberia is typically non-refundable, so do be careful when booking those. This is a solid B tier. Next up is JetBlue, which is an under-the-radar program within Chase when comparing it to the bigger programs like British and United. However, they do have a few sweet spots. First off, though, they do have no change or cancellation fees, which is a huge plus, especially in the points and mile space. And without a doubt, the biggest sweet spot is booking Q Suites on Qatar, coming in as low as 70,000 points. This is on pace with American Airlines, who is charging the same amount for Q Suites on Qatar and generally lead the One World redemptions with the cheapest pricing. Taking a look at JetBlue's East Coast to Europe routes, you could get as low as 20,000 one-way in economy, which is a great price. However, I couldn't find much below 200,000 in Mint, JetBlue's business class product. JetBlue does have partners that you can book outside of their own fleet, including Qatar, Singapore, Hawaiian, and Iceland Air, among some others. While JetBlue has a few spots of greatness, it is tough to fly in the front on their own planes using points. C tier. Next up is Singapore Airlines, a member of the Star Alliance, and known for their top-tier business class with some elite first-class suites, mainly the double bed with your companion on the A380. However, these are becoming extremely scarce. Singapore's program typically takes 2 to 3 days for point transfer versus the rest of these programs are generally instant, which is a huge plus for those. You better hope that your redemption is still there after 2 to 3 days of finding it, which probably took some time. And then additionally, most flights that show as available will show up on Air Canada for a much cheaper price. Therefore, I would just save your Chase points and go through the Aeroplan program. D tier. Up next is Southwest. Southwest is an interesting program because given the cash price, you can know exactly what the point cost is going to be because Southwest is a direct cash value system. Meaning if your flight costs $100, Southwest will divide that by 1.3 to 1.4 cents per point, which comes out to about 7,500 Southwest points for that flight. You're basically looking in the value of 1.3 to 1.4 cents per Chase point, which is low relative to some of the crazy high redemptions you can get on premium cabin, long haul, and hotels. The pro for Southwest is you know exactly what you're getting. You're never really going to get below 1.3 cents per point, but you're never really going to get more. You're also limited to Southwest's own routes since they are not a part of an alliance, so you're limited to the US and Central America. C tier. Next up is United. As many of you on the channel know, United is a mainstay for my full-length videos. Since we're based out of San Francisco, one of United's hubs, it just happens to be where most of our redemptions come from. United's program has taken some hits, though, recently with devaluations, but you're still able to snag 80,000 point business class from the West Coast to Europe on not only United's Polaris product, which is a great hard product, still needs some work on the soft product, but Star Alliance partners like Lufthansa and Swiss as well. Additionally, United is usable throughout the U.S. network, which is a great value for any domestic travel. Amongst the 3 U.S. transferable partners from Chase, United is the most versatile, covering the entire globe through most of its own network, but also with a wide range of partners giving you unlimited opportunity. One of my favorite approaches is finding relatively cheap premium economy or premium plus and paying via cash, and then paying 10 to 30,000 points per person plus some taxes and fees to get on the upgrade list for Polaris. I find that you can take a solid flight option and turn it into a premium one if that particular flight was not a reasonable cost for business class initially. If you don't get the upgrade, you still snagged a cheap premium economy seat and you get your miles back. United also labels saver fares, meaning that the cheapest redemption cost for that flight, if available, will show with the actual word saver, and this is a key indicator to go look on other transfer partners like Aeroplan because it actually might be a little bit cheaper. United is a strong A tier. Last of the airlines, we have Virgin Atlantic, and it finds itself in the same kind of area as Flying Blue with generally very low point costs, but with very high taxes and fees due to them traveling through London, and so the surcharges do get passed on. I found business one-way tickets for as low as 29,000 points, which is incredible, but there's $230 of taxes and fees tacked on. This is a great deal for business class to Europe. Economy was also as low as 6,000 points and $72 of taxes and fees, which is just crazy value if you're sitting on 100,000 Chase points. Imagine having that for your flights and pairing that up with a hotel card. You're really creating value for numerous trips. Virgin does have cancellation fees and change fees, so that does knock them back a bit. And when booking through Virgin Atlantic, you will be booking for their own aircraft network. Therefore, your route options might be more limited. This places Virgin in B tier. Now moving on to our hotel partners, we got 3 of them. First up is IHG, which is the most economical option out of the 3 hotel programs that Chase transfers to. With brands like the Intercontinental and Holiday Inn, you can get a wide range of stays based on your preference and location. I've heard great value can be had from international properties, especially at the Intercontinental chain, versus domestic. That being said, those nicer stays are victim to completely dynamic pricing IHG uses, so you won't really know what the price is until you look at it that day. Stays are nearly double and sometimes triple the best properties compared to Hyatt. Considering we are transferring from Chase, this is a tough sell unless you're short a small amount of points. With one night going up to 120,000 points, that would only get you one night with one of Chase's top cards. IHG does have good value if you snagged their direct card, but not with Chase points. D tier. Jumping into Marriott next, or Marriott. It's a very popular brand known worldwide. You can get premium stays, but at a very high cost. The redemption value is similar to IHG and also Hilton, while not on this list, worth mentioning. However, there is a much higher ceiling for what properties you can stay at through the Marriott program. It does have opportunities for better redemption value on those high-end properties. Similar to IHG, I would only transfer to and from Chase if I was close to the amount of points I needed through other credit card points or just frequent flyer or frequent stay points that I've earned. Because Marriott has better properties and higher end, I'm going to rate this as a C tier. Last one up is Hyatt, and we have no S on the board. Let's see what they can do. Hyatt is the pinnacle of value with Chase points. Averaging just over 2 cents per point when redeeming, you really can't go wrong with Hyatt. Extremely expensive hotels like the Aliyah Ventana Big Sur and Park Hyatt Sydney come in at prices of 40 to 50,000 points per night. However, with cash, values ballooning into the thousands of dollars per night. This is excellent value on the high end. Additionally, on the value at the other end of the spectrum, we could spend a night at LaGuardia Airport for 12,000 points per night. Hyatt does carry an award chart, so you know exactly what you're paying based on the category of the hotel and if it's peak season or not. With Hyatt having the highest of any floor for redemption value and the ability to book elite properties with no blackout dates, this is without a doubt the best way to utilize your Chase points. S tier. Here's our final tier list of Chase's transferable partners, with Hyatt at the top, all the way down to Emirates, Singapore, and IHG at the bottom. Please comment and let me know what you agree with, what you don't, what works for you, and we'll see you next time. Thanks all.